Hi, my name is Allie Edwards, and I am super excited to be with you here as part of this Roots Tech event. I was invited here to speak with you because my passion is personal storytelling. And the way that I have chosen in my own life to do that kind of documentation is mainly through the vehicle of scrapbooking. And the reason why that is for me is because I really love the creative work of head and heart and hand that all comes together, where I'm able to tell my stories in a creative way. That's my personal choice in terms of how I document. My goal here today in talking with you is to really encourage you and let you know, if you haven't heard before, if no one's told you before, that your story really does matter, and your efforts and excitement and truth that you put into writing and or telling your story will probably not ever be something that you end up regretting. I started storytelling myself and documenting my life in 2002 after my son Simon was born. He was about a year old, and I had wanted to find some way to document things about him. That was how things started for me, was wanting to tell someone else's story. And what I've learned over the years is that the true value in documenting for me actually benefits me the most. And it sounds funny to say it, but I know so much more about myself, and I have learned so much about myself through the process of documenting our everyday life and writing down the stories that are important to me as a way to both process and to remember. So I come to this place with a passion really specifically for everyday life storytelling. I think that all stories are important, and I love hearing stories from past generations and from my own family as well as from other people's families, because I believe that we learn so much from the process of people telling their stories. But my focus through my own work has been on encouraging people to document their everyday life and to really value those stories that sometimes people discount. The stories of how we move about our days, the rhythms, the seasons, the things that we're into today that might be different from how they were yesterday. And I'm also really interested in the lessons that we learn along the way, and taking the opportunity to write down and document those lessons as we are learning them, or not very long after the fact. I've always maintained that sometimes it can be really hard to document while you are living through something really challenging, but I believe that there's value in documenting those kinds of things. And sometimes it's later on, right? It doesn't always have to be immediate. It doesn't always have to be right now. When I was talking to a friend about what I wanted to communicate today, one of the things that she mentioned about what she sees in terms of what I do is that I am really curating a living history. I am taking the time right now to document what is happening around me, what is happening in our family, what life looks like. And obviously right now, and in the context of the last couple of years, some very monumental things have happened collectively for all of us, not just in our own individual lives. I am a person who really enjoys doing projects. So many of the ways that I go about documenting things are project-based, like a day in the life or week in the life, which are things that you can participate in and things that you can, ways that you can tell the story of your own life. It doesn't have to be in a scrapbooking method. It's really more about opening yourself up to saying, yes, my everyday life story is important and valuable enough to write down. And this is not an everyday thing. Like, you don't have to go about your life and be like, oh my God, I write down every single thing I did today so that I don't forget. And for posterity, that's not what I'm talking about. Even if once a year you embark on a project where you are documenting what your life looks like right now, That would be amazing, right? Think about future generations, just to be able to see, you know, this is what I did in this 1 week in May in 2021. This is what our life looked like at that point in time. So for me, a lot of my storytelling, because it is more of a creative avenue, is paired with photography. And photography is really important to me. The words and the photos are the two things that I come back to again and again. And the photos support the words. In my case, most often I am taking pictures in order to be able to pair them with actual words where I am telling and honoring the story of my own life. One of the things I'm often asked related to storytelling and things that people are curious about related to what I do is why. You know, what is my reason why for doing this? And this might be something for you to think about in your own hobbies and endeavors too. What is your true reason why? What is your core reason why? Why do you show up to this hobby? Why do you show up to these words? Why do you show up to the photos? And I wanted to share with you, I have 6 reasons why I have found documenting and storytelling to be super important in my own life. And that's what I want to share with you guys next. So number 1, I mentioned briefly previously, is that writing down the story of my life is one of the main ways that I process my life experience. I know for myself the type of learner that I am, and the type of type of person that I am. Writing things down helps me make sense of my life. It helps me make sense of the highs. It helps me make sense of the lows. It helps me reflect on lessons that I've learned. I think I mentioned that earlier. I can't imagine not doing it anymore. And actually, Stephen King is actually a fantastic writer generally, and has a really great book that's called On Writing that you might want to check out if you're interested in learning more about actual writing processes. What he says about writing is that he writes to find out what he thinks. And that completely resonates with me, and is one of the big reasons why I continue to make documenting a big part of my life experience. Number 2 reason why I document stories, and why I want to encourage you to do that as well, is that no one else is telling your story. No one else can tell your story. Someone else can tell a story about you. They can tell a story of their perceptions about something that's related to you, but no one else in their own, no one else except for you and your own unique voice can tell your own story, right? No one else is living in your head with you. You are the one that can unlock the story of you. And I really want to empower you and give you permission to be able to do that your voice, your unique voice in this world is important, and it is worth taking the time to write things down, because there isn't another you. When I write, I get to say what was and is most important to me. I get to choose the stories I want to have told and tell them with my own unique voice. I treasure that I get to express myself not just through the photos, which I love tremendously and value them so much. I am a huge, passionate lover of photography, and being able to have my own life experience reflected back to me through the lens of my camera, right? It is my opportunity to give my own personal perspective on my life from both the past and the present. And it is a gift we can give to ourselves if we give ourselves permission to do it. My number 3 reason why for telling my own story and documenting my own life is because I have things that I want to say to my kids. So I realize not everyone out there is a parent, but for those of us that are, I know in my own life, I have really valued written things from my parents. And so a lot of the times when I am scrapbooking or writing something down about our life, I am looking for opportunities to write letters to my kids. And when I write letters to them, I'm often talking about lessons learning. I'm talking about or writing about what I see happening in their own lives. I am writing about how amazing they are, right? Like it's another opportunity to give the gift of words. In this case, I'm not giving them to myself, though I'm giving them to someone else. And I think that is a real beautiful invitation to look for opportunities to write about our lives to the people we love as a method and an expression of the lives that we're living right now. So this one really is a big piece of my reason why I want my kids to know how I feel about them. And I want to tell them, which I do, but I also want to write it down because there is something very important, and I want to say magical, but magical is not even really it. There's just something very beautiful about our language and stringing those words together and presenting them to someone, or even just writing them down in our own way. It's very concrete, right? When we write things down, which is part of what can be scary about it. And I think that is one of the barriers often for people, is that it can be scary and it can be hard, but it's also amazing and awesome at the same time, and totally worth it. So I also related to my kids, and just writing in general is that I want my kids to know what our real life was like, and that we have had both awesome times and challenging times, which obviously they're going to know. It's part of their own personal life experience. But I'm getting to share what my perspective was on those experiences. And if they choose to in the future, they can write about their own experiences as well, or they can do it now if they wanted to too. I write a lot about our basic daily routines and the things that are happening from, day to day. I don't do this every day, but it is a undercurrent or a theme in all the writing that I do about my life, is that I value those everyday kinds of stories more than birthdays, more than Christmas, more than those bigger events, because those are really like flashpoints, right, along the stories of, or along the story of our life, or along the continuum of our life. But it's the way that we live every single day that is the most meaty and the most beautiful to me, for sure. My son Simon was diagnosed with autism when he was 2.5, and he's now 18, and amazing. He's just an amazing person. And I have learned so much about him, and he has taught me so much over the course of his life so far. And I just continue to look forward to learning from him and celebrating him. And really one of the story angles that I've taken with him over the course of his life, as I've written stories about him and about what I have witnessed and what I have experienced as well, as his mom, is always looking for opportunities to celebrate him. So a lot of the stories that I tell are looking for opportunities to celebrate small wins. Always. And it's a lot of focusing on the positive. And like I mentioned before, the stories that I like to tell include the pieces that are hard as well as the pieces that are wonderful and awesome. But that piece of celebration has long been something, a thread that goes through all the writing that I've done about our family. Number 4 reason why that I like to write about my life and why I feel like it's valuable and want to encourage you to do that as well, is that it really does give context to my photos. So if you are someone who loves photography, if you're here in this space, you probably have some sort of a passion for photography or an interest in photos, and you have probably experienced coming across photos from the past where there's no context. I am someone that was really lucky to grow up with parents who took a lot of photos, and I've been able to go back into their photo archives and remember and treasure and ask questions and do all of that kind of stuff related to the photos. And both my parents are still living, and so I'm able to still communicate with them and talk about the stories that occurred when I was growing up and how did they feel and those kinds of things that I'm personally curious about. But what I miss in looking through those photos is having written words to go along with the photos. I want to know not only, this is our, this was a trip we took, or this is the way that our living room looked at a specific point in time. I want to know more. I want to know, how my mom was feeling at that point in time. Did she like her life? Was she happy? And I can ask her these things, right? I can say, Mom, do you remember back when you were 35 or whatever point in time, do you remember how you were feeling about your life at that point in time? And she can go back and she can look at the photos and she can probably tell me bits and pieces, but there is so much beauty that comes from documenting while we are experiencing things, especially the stuff that's not just the facts, right? It's not just we went here, we did this, we did that. It's the feelings. It's the actual feelings. Those are the things that I care about the most. It's how did you, not only, yes, it's awesome that you got to go to New York and have that experience. How did you feel when you were there? What did the air feel like there? What did the, what did it feel like to walk around all day? And how did it feel to get to see the things that you've only heard about or dreamt about before? I want to know more. And so I bring that perspective into the writing and the memory keeping and the documenting that I do because it makes it so much richer overall. I want to know more. So I use that as the jumping off point for the documenting that I do now. Knowing what I want to know or knowing what I wish that I knew, helps inform the choices that I make in my own storytelling today. All right, number 5 reason why I continue to value storytelling and why I want to encourage you guys to tell your own stories as well is simply that there are just so many things I want to remember, right? There are so many wonderful, beautiful, complicated pieces of our life, that's what makes up our life, right? It makes up our life. It's the combination of all of those things coming together. And I want to remember more. I don't remember more. I'm 45 years old now, and there's so many things that I already don't remember, right? About what's happened over the course of my life. But what I have done and what I've been doing for the last almost 20 years now is valuing storytelling and really putting emphasis on that to where now it is simply a part of the way that I live my life, writing things down, taking pictures, valuing my own story in the collective of everyone's stories as well. And then number 6 reason why for me kind of just gets to what I was just saying is that really it has simply become a part of the life that I lead. I can't imagine, even if this wasn't my job and even if it wasn't a piece of my business, I can't imagine not continuing to value writing my own story, paying attention to life. A lot of the stories that I write come about, because I have trained myself to pay attention and to look for the stories. To me, it's to the point now where it's just very natural. It's very normal. I have my phone, I take pictures, I jot down notes. It's just kind of a way that I experience the world. But I think that it's something that you can learn and it's something that you can practice. And it's something that if you decide for yourself, this is something that you want to do, you want to include more of your own stories, you want to be writing more about what's happening in your own life, it is absolutely possible to do that. And there isn't a right or a wrong approach. I think immediately once somebody decides, yes, I want to tell my story, yes, I want to start writing things down, then it's all the barriers, right? I don't like my own voice. I don't like, writing is scary, writing feels hard, right? People are going to judge me. And all of those things are true, right? People are gonna judge you. Writing is hard, but it's worth it. It is so worth it from a personal place, but I really think that it's also worth it from a collective piece of our society that the more we can share stories with one another, the more that we can get to our own heart of our own individual matters and the things that we care about the most, and the more we can share that, I think that it offers hope. Really, that's the bottom line, is it offers hope. So what I would want to say to all of you that are here today, participating, listening, gaining inspiration from all of the different speakers, is that this is something you can do, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You can literally open up a document on your computer. It can be notes, it can be Evernote is a program that I use that I like for just typing up quick little stories as they occur throughout the day. In the past, I've really used social media as an opportunity to document and hold stories. So I'll take a photo of something, I'll type up my caption, which is essentially I'm adding context to a photo that I took, right? And then being able to refer back to that in the future when I actually want to scrapbook it. That's been a piece of my process for a long time now. But it's not, it's not a competition, right? It's not who can write the best, who can write the most. It's really allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to adopt personal storytelling as a piece of your overall life experience. So as I wrap up today, I just want to reiterate that your story, you sitting right here listening to me right now, your story does matter. You have a value as a human being, and your own life experience, your own highs and lows, your own way of looking at things is valuable. It's worth doing, even if you're only doing it for yourself, as a way for yourself to process your own life. It's worth it, worth it, worth it. And I really want to encourage you. And if you guys have any questions about getting started or other things that you would like to check in with me about, you can reach me via the contact information related to this video. And I would love to have you as a part of my community if you're interested in documenting your story via memory keeping. And if you're not, I just wish you all the best, and you're worth it.